the Cannabis Business Coach.
Hi, Mike Z here, author of the Cannabis Business Book, and you're listening to the Cannabis Business Coach podcast, where I chat with and coach the highest performing entrepreneurs in the cannabis industry.
Hi, Mike Z is. Hi, Mike Z is. Hi, Mike Z is the Cannabis Business Coach.
Okay, great. And can you hear me okay? Just wanted to
You're absolutely perfect.
Wonderful. Thank you.
As I told you before, you were perfect.
You're so sweet. Okay. Hi, Mike Z here. And today I am joined by Claudia Post, the founder and CEO of Most Consulting Group. And Claudia, it's such a joy to speak with you always. It's been a couple of weeks now since we've last chatted. So I'm excited to catch up with you, hear about what you've been up to, and to share your story and experience and insight with the listeners. So if you don't mind, could you please just tell us a little more about yourself and your cannabis journey?
Okay. So I started my agency going on, I guess, 12 years now. I was a pioneer. And how did I get into cannabis is the question everybody always asks me. And I will tell you, this is because of my son, Nicholas Gabay, who is a very well-known glass artist in the cannabis space. He was one of the original crew that was blowing glass, and he's very well known. His nom de plume is Snick, S-N-I-C, Barnes, B-A-R-N-E-S. And if you go visit his Instagram or his website, you'll be blown away. I know that's true. So one day we were chatting and he said, Mom, you have to get into this business because it's going to blow up. Nicholas is like an old soul. He knows, he sees things that whatever. And he said, you got to get in, you got to get in. I said, what do I know about, what did I know? Because all I knew was that he was selling these beautiful glass pieces, making a wonderful living, and very well known. I knew nothing about the space. So I said, okay, I'll go to a couple of shows. So I started by going to the big show where he was demoing, and I went to all of the shows where he would demo. He was like a rock star, so he would stand in that little circle in the middle and everybody would walk around and look at people's stuff, and I would stand there in front of him and I would say, that's my kid. And they would say, what? Snick is your son? I mean, I thought people would ask me for an autograph. I said, why are you asking me for an autograph? I have nothing. Anyway, so I started going to the shows. I loved the shows. It was very Cheech and Chongy, in the beginning. So I started an agency called Smokin' Hot Solutions. And my tagline was, we create the buzz. B-U-Z-Z, we create the buzz. So that agency was me and an intern. And I'm a salesperson and a marketer at the core of me. I started doing outreach and whatever, and we started the agency. Then I got a few more. I loved my model, which was an intern model. Long story short, an intern named John Monk, and remember that name, came to work with me when he was in his, I think, sophomore, junior year. And John was the wild maverick kind of a guy and lots of fun. And everybody around me, always, every single person, I want to tell you this, I must be an ADD attractor. I must be like nectar to the ADD people. So a lot of people that work with me have ADD. Nicholas has ADD, by the way. Anyway, so John worked with me and he was getting ready to graduate. And I said, with trepidation, I said, oh my God, where are you going? And he said, I'm going nowhere. I'm staying with you. And that was the beginning of my journey with John Monk. So he stayed with me. We started selling, doing outreach. I mean, he's a young person. And I know, despite popular opinion, I look like I'm 22, but I'm not. And, he brought in all of this great digital stuff that was not me. And about 2 years ago, I said, I think it's time that I give you part of the business. He's been instrumental in selling and he's wonderful. So I gave him part of the business. We kept the name Smokin' Hot because I was very attached to it. And then he said to me, I think we need to change the name of the business because the business is changing. And I'm the kind of person, like, even if I give you my opinion and I obviously like my opinion, if you bring me something different, I am willing to listen and change. And I think that's another key to being a successful leader. You have to be willing to listen and you have to be willing to change. So I said, okay, we went through a lot of iterations of names. And then this is what we came up with. Okay. His last name is Monk. My last name is Post. And together we're the most. And there you have it. So that's us. So that's how I got into the business. And that's where I am today. Our client base is, it cuts across all the channels: growers, processors, widget manufacturers, and our clients are all over the country and in Canada. And so I'm very fortunate to be surrounded by a wonderful team of young people who give me all of that great knowledge and information. And a lot of the stuff, I mean, years ago, if somebody would have said, you're going to be doing social media, I would say, are you out of your mind? I know nothing about this. So anyway, I learned I can't do it, mind you, but they do it, and they do a marvelous job. And we are really customer centric. We are just like I bring into from my old business, which was time critical delivery. We are have a great sense of urgency, and we really listen. I'm about listening to what somebody's telling me and not thinking about what I want to answer. So anyway, so that's where we are today. We're right here at Most, MOST. Yep.
Amazing. Thank you
Yep.
for that, Claudia. Can
You're
you
welcome.
speak a little about your experience before starting the cannabis business? I know you were a
Oh,
successful entrepreneur before
yes.
that. So can you just
Yes.
chat a little about that?
Yeah, I love to. Okay, so many, many years ago, I started a company called Diamond Courier here in Philadelphia. I had bikers and drivers, and that was a trip and a half. Delivering for people. We delivered anything from a heart to a kidney to $1 million bids. Any and everything in between. Yeah, I love that business because I'm a problem solver. I also, maybe I have a touch of ADD. I like getting things done. And I really have a commitment to great customer service. And so that business afforded me all of that. And I learned a lot. And now I will tell you something. So I've taken my knowledge of cannabis, my knowledge of transportation, I've slapped them together. And we are about to launch a cannabis delivery service. I have the gravitas to talk about chain of custody and delivery. It's just not waking up and saying, I'm putting, $1 in my pocket and I'm going to go a delivery. I've got all the technology and all the insurance and everything else. And we have our first client, and we are about to start a beta with them. So I am over the moon about that. Very exciting. So
Amazing.
That's my news. Yep, that's
Fantastic.
my news.
Oh, I'm
Yep.
glad to hear that. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank
That's wonderful.
you. Thank you. So, and we can do it anywhere. I have connections in every state, so I can do delivery wherever you can do it in any state. I've got connections. I've got folks on the ground, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to scale it, and that's my story. Do I have two of me? I don't know.
Nice.
If I have two of me, we'll be interested. So anyway, so there's that. That's what I'm doing.
Amazing. So,
Yep.
Given all that, I'm curious if you can share what a day in the life is like. What's it like being Claudia Post?
Oh my God. What's it like being me? I have trouble being me some days. I have a lot of trouble being me some days. When you have an outgoing personality and you make people laugh a lot, on the day that you're not making them laugh, they think that you're sick. It doesn't mean that you're sick. It just means that you're tired. And I will tell you, I've been like, yesterday was just an awful day. I mean, I felt depleted. I'm listening more to myself during COVID than I listened before. I realize I can't do everything, although I always think I can. But I get up I have calls already prearranged, people that I'm speaking to, obviously, and I'm a great prospector. So I start using my prospecting talents, talking to people that have dispensaries, talking to people that have grows. I mean, I'm all over all the social media, LinkedIn, Alignable, and doing a lot of outreach. And I'm so fortunate because I have a marketing agency and I've got great people to help me push out, the word. So, I mean, I'm busy from 8:30 until, I mean, they'll get emails from me if I can't sleep at 1 o'clock in the morning. So, that's just how I always ran my life. I have lots of time when I'm dead, so lots of time to rest. So yeah, I'm always working. And some people say, well, that's not living. But you know what? It's what I like to do. It may not be what you like to do. I like to work. Call me crazy. I mean, I do. I love to work. I love to make things happen. I love to generate the enthusiasm about a product or about a service. That's just who I am. And I think the other piece of that is that I really like to interact with new people and I like to learn about them. So a lot of my interactions are just like what you're doing now. I ask questions. I want them to talk to me because most people don't ask those questions and most people don't listen. But I'm a good listener. That's one of my key. I think you have to be when you're in sales. But anyway, I digress. There I am. Okay.
Absolutely. And I can tell the audience from my experiences chatting with you and private conversations that you are a great listener, and I really appreciate that. So
thank you.
you for that. I want to ask you, Claudia, 2020 has been a wild year, and cannabis has done pretty well, despite the pandemic and everything that's going on in the world. It seems people are waking up to the fact that cannabis is essential and that, it's not going anywhere. So I'm wondering if you can speak a bit about how 2020 has impacted your business and kind of how things are today as, we're kind of recovering, but also kind of, not at all. So, yeah.
It's a mixed bag. Well, okay. So we went from, full bore January. We hit the ground running. We did what we had to do. Then the trickling in of COVID. Then overnight we were shut down. The whole world said, oh my God, I have to do something. Now, recovering from that, doing everything in a natural way to moving out of my office, making everybody, we worked remotely, trying to figure out how do we keep the cohesion of the team during that time was a very big struggle because we are all working in our own little silos, and it's not like I'm sitting next to you and can run over to your desk or into your office and say, hey, Mike, blah, 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 you can't do this. So the connectivity was a problem for me because, as I said, I'm a real people person. And the first month was a bitch. The first month I just didn't feel like me. I was lethargic, which is also not me, and all of the pain of trying to absorb. I can't go to a restaurant. I can't go to a store. All the things I can't do. I'm a can do person, not a can't do person. So all of this was so daunting for me that I got a little, I would say I don't know, not depressed that I was immobilized, but I was not doing well. I think that, and also being able to talk about how you feel. I'm a very open person. I mean, people that just say, oh, it's nothing. I do it, everything's great. Life is great. That's bullshit. This was a recovery period. So we went through month one, and it kind of leveled out, and we had our 3 meetings a day, and I would talk to everybody individually and da-da-da. And then I said, well, nobody's talking. Customers were, scarce. We have our stable of customers clients with whom we speak and everything else, but bringing on new clients was problematic then, very problematic. And again, if anybody tells you, oh yeah, I'm selling like crazy, that again is bullshit. So I'm here to tell you, it takes a lot of time, effort, and energy, and passion to go back in and say, okay, what do I have to do here? I just wrote an ad for us. We're advertising in a couple of publications, and the ad says, pivot or perish or shake it up with us. So, I mean, and I think that's really the message. People need not to cut their marketing budget or their sales budget. This is when they need to go out, and I guess maybe that's a little, I don't want it to come across as self-serving, but life will go on in whichever way it's going to go. You know, we're morphing into an adjusting period. So everything was okay. I was feeling a lot better. I was great. I was on the phone. I was trying to do these other projects, blah, blah, blah. And now, are we being catapulted back to hunkering down? I mean, congratulations to New York. Bravo, because you had no deaths. You've had no death. I mean, it's a terrible, metric, but that tells you something, that New York did it right. And Pennsylvania did it not as right as you did, but we've done it. And, but when you look at Florida, 15,000 cases in a day, they have a lot of, there's a lot of problems. So I'm not going to be calling on people in Florida. Obviously, they're going to be calling on their hospital. But here's what I'm saying, you have to kind of look at the landscape and figure out what you have to do. And that's where I was. I mean, that, like Harry Truman said, the buck stops here. I gotta think about, I call them my kids. I gotta think about my kids here are working with me and their lives, and, they need money and they depend on me. That's a big chunk of my head. And so we've done a lot of marketing in a different way, using more social media for us. I mean, we were doing it for other people. I said, well, we got to do it, for us. So we pivoted that way, and doing a lot of marketing for most. But it's been, I can't say it's a cakewalk. I can say it's difficult.
So I'm hearing you speak about resilience and pivoting, and also the responsibility of leadership, of knowing that, your team depends on you, and that these people, their livelihood is tied to your leadership. And
Absolutely.
Can you speak a little more to any of those topics?
Absolutely. I can, I told you before you asked me to speak, that's the end. I just go off. Anyway, well, let me start with resilience. I owned a very large transportation company, and when everything went down the last time, if you remember 2009, 2010, and the banks became unfriendly and all that other stuff, I had to sell off part of my company. Another lesson in resilience. Okay, that was my business for 20 something years. I love transportation, but the truth is I was busy buying companies and didn't get the memo from Bear Stearns. Oh, well, Claudia, we're screwing up, and therefore you are too. So that was a very painful period, but boy, did I learn, after I got out of a fetal position, I got up and did what I had to do. And I think that resilience is something that comes from within. And it's something also that I couldn't rush. I had to be in I'm going to call it my grief. I had to feel that, and I had to ask myself a lot of questions, and which I did. I mean, I screwed up too, as a leader, you have to say, hey, I screwed up. But, if, it's more attempts, more completions. And, there's nothing in the world that anybody can say to somebody that tries. And so if you try, I will never say anything, but, if you don't try, what is that? 100% of nothing is nothing. That's the problem with not trying. So anyway, I went into a totally different field. I said, I can't do this. I want to work, see how I feel about this. I went into the nonprofit sector, and I helped change the board and do a lot of different things for this. It was based on STEM, and it was in underserved communities, and that's a whole other slice of my life. Anyway, I did that for 18 months. I did what I had to do. I took care of everything. I changed everything around. I brought on more board members. And that's what you do. You swim where you are, and it taught me a lot as well. And then came along, smoking hot, and I like being in my own business. It's not for everybody. It's can be gut wrenching on some days, can be euphoric on others, and you just have to be willing to take that ride. And as I said, if you're an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur, and that's how it is. So I would say that resilience is and reinvention. They used to call me the queen of reinvention, and my friends know. They say, "How many times have you reinvented yourself?" Well, you do what you have to do. But anyway, and then you were asking me about leadership. Leadership, very important, very important. I am like I can't put myself in the same sentence of like Abraham Lincoln and Barack Obama, but I can say that you have to surround yourself with people that give you what you don't have. And friends, I want to tell you, if you think you own a business and you can do everything from sales, marketing, digital, operations, buying, and whatever, you are destined to fail. You have to let go. And in order to let go, you have to surround yourself with those people that boost you up, with whom you have great confidence, and you surround yourself with the smartest people you can at whatever stage you're in. And that's what I've done. So I feel like, and I'm also transparent. Something goes on. When I had my other company and I had to do some readjusting, I would show them this was the revenue, this was the profit, this was the payout to the drivers, so that people understood. It wasn't that I was building a castle in Spain. I was working my ass off so that everybody could get paid. And that's really what a leader does. And when they say the captain goes down with the ship, that's what you have to do. So I'm here doing what I have to do, taking care of what I have to take care of every single day. It's in my brain. I wake up thinking about everybody that I work with and how I have to take care of them as well. I don't say that to them on a daily basis, but they know that I care about them. And I run a transparent ship and I run a clean ship. And that's, I like to say I'm not a virgin, but I run a clean ship, if you know what I mean. So that's me. I know you always laugh. You're always laughing at what I say, Mike. But anyway, that's true.
I have a mentor who said to me once, legends must reinvent themselves. So.
Wow. I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
So I'm going to borrow that.
Please. What's a counterintuitive truth about cannabis marketing? Or to put it a different way, what's something that a lot of people believe is true about marketing cannabis or selling cannabis that you actually know is not true?
Oh, well, here, I'll be happy to see. I told you, ask me a question. I'm Johnny on the spot. Okay. So what we're finding is, look, I've been doing this for almost 12 years. You can't take that away from me. Okay. It's my knowledge. It's my intellectual property. It's me breaking my ass on certain things and understanding what I can and cannot do. And so what we find now is we get people who call us and say, oh my God, I worked with these people. They told me they know what they're doing and they don't know. And I think that's disingenuous to sell somebody something when you don't know the channels, the right things to say, and all that other stuff. Yeah, take their money and run, because they're going to leave you because you don't know what you're doing right now. It's not as easy as people would think, because there are so many rules, as you know, so many regulations. Everything is changing all the time. And you really have to be on the top of your game and understand all those rules, all those regs, and certainly with CBD, no matter what it is, it's THC, it's CBD, you can't say certain things, So I think that people don't understand what it is. I'm all about education. I mean, I think that's one of the critical pieces that people have to include in anything. What is cannabis? So people use that interchangeably. As we know, marijuana and hemp are two of the, that's the genus is yes, cannabis, and then the two parts of that are hemp and marijuana, and people just use that all interchangeably. And I think that people need to understand the lexicon, the dictionary, whatever our vocabulary of our industry a little bit better. And I guess they will eventually when they catch up, but like I say, we've been out ahead for so long that, I think of myself as a subject matter expert by now, 12 years, right? Something.
Yeah. So speaking of that, I mean, not too many people have been marketing cannabis for 12 years. And so I'm wondering if you could speak a bit about how you've seen the industry evolve and where you think things are heading. Like, if we were talking 12 years from now, what might things look like then?
Well, honey, if I'm here 12 years from now, we all got a problem. I'll be off somewhere. Anyway, I would say that the industry has evolved and in the beginning, I talked to you about going to those shows, and it was very Cheech and Chongy, and, my kid's an artist. He's got tattoos and piercings and all the other stuff. So it's not a population that's strange to me, because I understand it. I've been around it forever. But the buying habits and the shows and the people that are getting into the industry, I say, when I sit with other people, the originators, the people who are in California, and all of my sisters and brothers that have been doing that for years and years and years, they resent the suits that are coming in big time and changing the complexion of the industry. And I think that big corporations, gobbling up, parts of the industry, I think that's sad. And I certainly hope that there's still going to be room for people who are more rock and rolly, if you know what I mean. And we're still in our infancy. I don't know 12 years from now. I hope it's not like P. Lorillard, the tobacco company, is going to own all the pros of, cannabis and hemp. That would be very sad to me. But it has changed dramatically. You go to a conference now, there are lots of suits. You know that. Lots and lots of suits. And they're out there like they're flying around like the hawks. And they're looking for the prey. And that's, you can say it's like almost like a snake oil salesman. I'm not saying that it's bad or good, but it is. And like I say, I guess I'm more of a hippie. So, whatever.
Claudia, let me ask you, what's your superpower?
What's my superpower? My superpower. Oh, there's so many, but there's so many. Oh my God. I would say, right off the top of my head, is my ability to gather people around me who recognize that while I am a crazy person, I'm a real person and I'm authentic. I think my superpower is my authenticity in every situation. And I don't care where I am or with whom I'm speaking. That's Claudia. It's not like I'm putting on a different mask. I am an authentic person all the way through. That's me.
I love it. I guess that's why we get along so well.
Yep. The real deal.
Nice. And so let me ask you, what are you most excited about right now in cannabis? Yeah.
Oh, well, here I go. I am most excited about two things that I'm doing, which is the other thing I want to talk to you a little bit about. Okay, so the delivery service, which is new, which I kept talking about for years. I said, why aren't we delivering cannabis? Blah, blah, blah. And it just can't be done by anybody, but they're recognizing that cannabis can be delivered. And here I am. And even when it goes rec, when you think about Bill de Blasio is not going down to a store to buy, a zip of weed. He's going to send for a messenger or whatever. And we're going to be everywhere to do that. So I'm excited about the delivery component. I'm excited about, that launching my company. I'm also very excited because who launches 2 companies at the same time? You're looking at her. Okay, for about, I don't know, a year or so, I kept saying, I'm in this business and what should I be doing? And da 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 da. What's missing? What's missing? So CBD is ubiquitous. It's you can find it at the gas station, and I'd find it on the counter at, wherever. So I don't want to do tincture. I want to do something else. So I noodled around, and I am proud to tell you that I am launching with a partner. So I don't do all this by myself now. A company called Green Bar Supply Co. greenbarsupplyco.com. And we are purveyors of fine CBD. We will be supplying of course, now the bar and restaurant scene, you realize what's happening. But if you go onto the website, you can buy, I have bitters, tinctures, but these are water soluble that you can add to your martini, and you get a double shot, and we have the infusion, it's called Make It a Double. So, and why limit happy to an hour is what I say. So there you go. So we are launching that. And I have rock candy, gummies, of course, to sit over a drink on a swizzle stick, bud to go onto a swizzle stick to sit over your Manhattan or whatever. It's very kitschy. And bitters, lots of different kinds of bitters. And so I'm doing that as well.
Very cool. Amazing.
It is amazing. I'm telling you, I don't know. I'm doing it, but somehow or other. Superpower to organize, I guess, and organize. Now I have to organize you ask me what I'm doing, call me at 3:00 and I'll tell you in the morning, say I'm doing one thing or the other. But anyway, so that's what we're doing in terms of the industry. And it is affording lots of people the opportunity to get in. And so many times, and I'm sure people ask you this too, Mike, how do you get in? Where do you get in? Where are the opportunities? Da, 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 da. And, so I say to people, what do you do? And whatever it is, I say it's translatable. It's not like there's some mystique here, and so there you go. That's why I think people, it's a wonderful way to get into something and call your own shots, which entrepreneurs like to do. And there you go. So, yeah.
Awesome. And to your earlier point, I love the question that you posed, which is what's missing? So if you want to be an entrepreneur in this industry, rather than trying to do what everyone else is doing, look around and see, or ask yourself, what's missing? And that's where innovation happens, right? Is from solving a problem that someone hasn't solved yet. And so if you're looking for an entry point, which to your point, Claudia, a lot of people are constantly, how do I get in? How do I get started? Well, first you could, I always tell them, you could buy my book on Amazon and that's a good first step.
That's a good first step. Everybody buy Mike's book. Buy that book. Yeah. It's your roadmap to success.
That's right. That's right.
I'm giving you a plug. Yeah, it's not even my show, and I'm giving you a plug. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, but the point is, look around and say, what's missing? How can I solve a problem that hasn't been solved yet? How can I create value in a way that someone else isn't doing? Or if someone else is doing, how do I do it differently in a unique way that's better or more cost effective or more scalable or whatnot?
Exactly. I have 2 little quotes here. A mentor of mine, Eddie Katz, may he rest in peace. He had the biggest bicycle messenger service in New York, Choice. I don't know if you saw his people around New York, Choice Courier. He used to say, Claudia, if you can't do it better, quicker, and cheaper, don't do it. If you can't, you got to pick one. You got to pick 2. You got to pick 2. And then my mother used to say, in terms of competition, never look to the right and never look to the left. Let people follow you. You keep going down your path. Don't look over here and don't look over. You just stick to your path. And, she's flying around somewhere, thinking, wow, that's good, right? So, I mean, the truth is, that's the truth. You can't look at this other person's doing that, you just follow your bliss, follow your dream. And that's not bullshit either. Every day is not an orgasm, friends. Every day is difficult, can be difficult. It's the truth. I mean, it's difficult. It's not easy. Meeting a payroll, doing your taxes, speaking of today, all this stuff is a cascade of things that you have to deal with. But you have to be able to look at things and say, okay, what do I need to do? How do I prioritize? And don't look at that other person. You look at you. And there's always something that you can do better, than whoever. So, but don't do deliveries to dispensaries. That's all.
Amazing. You're totally right about that. Every day is not an orgasm. And in fact, as a cannabis entrepreneur, you're going to have plenty of days that are gut wrenching or tough.
Oh, yeah.
And if we would have talked yesterday, I would have told you, I'm sick of everything. I'm sick of everyone. Fuck everyone. Fuck this.
That's right. That's right.
But today's a new day, and
that's right.
Delighted to be chatting with you. I always have so much fun, and you always give me a buzz and a pick me up. So I really appreciate your humor.
That's so kind of you.
I want to shift into the coaching section or segment, which I once upon a time called In the Weeds with Mike Z. And it's that name didn't stick for some reason. I guess I forgot until now. But in any case, I want to ask you, what is the biggest business challenge or roadblock you're facing right now?
Raising money. Now, I have spoken to, and we spoke about this before, you and I, raising money. There are a lot of firms that are still cannabis averse, a lot of investors that are still cannabis averse. And I've spoken to people and they'll say, oh, no, it's cannabis. My team's going to pass and blah, blah, blah. I would say raising money. And then, the sad part is people think, oh, it's you talk to people and they give you money. Okay, if it were that easy, everybody would be raising money. And I've spoken to some people. I had a gentleman who was just like, we were so close. And then COVID, the stock market, I mean, he lost, I don't know, $200,000 or $250 in a day or something. So I certainly understood why he wasn't going to invest with me. But, there are hard, I need capital, and I'm willing to take, debt or equity, whatever. But also, like I say, it's very difficult because some people are cannabis averse. And I think that's problematic. We still haven't gotten over that stigma, as people like to say. So I would say for me, that's a real challenge, trying to raise money. And there you have it. That's my, yeah.
So raising capital for one of the new ventures.
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
So I'm hearing you mentioned the stigma and that some people are cannabis averse. I'm wondering if that's, there's a lot of people who invest only in cannabis.
Yes.
And so I'm wondering,
where are they? Call me. Call Claudia. It's on the bathroom wall. Seriously. Whatever. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Pick my number up. Yeah.
I had actually the episode I recorded last week, I had a cannabis investor, and he told me that something like 1 in 400 deals that he looks at actually get a check.
That's right.
So for the cannabis investors, I believe they're so inundated with options, and they're so selective right now that I think it really is a challenge to go to any of those cannabis people. So it's this interesting dynamic where you have all these cannabis people, that there's so many people vying for their attention and their dollars, And then you have all these non-cannabis people who, some of them are just scared of cannabis or have the stigma. And then there's another bunch that are maybe curious, but you know, they require a lot more educating and time and all this stuff. So it's really a tough environment, especially with COVID and all the
Oh,
uncertainty. Although the stock market's been ripping, so that's,
yeah.
you know, so maybe it is a
Go
good
figure.
time.
Go
And
figure.
um, but the fact of the matter is, people are scared, right? There's the risk, and so I think what comes to mind for me is there's the powerful story that can be told that, hey, cannabis is essential, cannabis is growing, and now is the time to get into it. You said you're a great prospector, and I wonder how much of your focus right now is going towards finding investors.
And that's a really good question. Very prescient, A+ question. I mean, I am not doing it as much as I should, whatever that means. I mean, I'm not banging away at investors as I'm banging away to, most Scarlet Express and Green Bar. I've taken a moment to kind of like get them launched. I've done it myself. Even though I have a partner, we sort of figured it out. I mean, I'm very fortunate because what comes along with me as a marketing agency, and people have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for that, I don't have to pay that. So I think that your question is very timely. And to tell you the truth, I mean, when I go out in a situation, or before when I was networking out and out, I talk to people, blah, blah, blah. You mentioned that you just can't be very casual and say, well, gee, I'm looking for an investor. That's like, gee, I'm looking for a sugar packet, and they're ubiquitous and they're everywhere. You have to be very on point, and then you have to, figure out how to get to that person. I mean, who knows that person? I'm always also a believer in, I'd rather have a warm intro than a cold, noodle. And so I mean, that would make sense to me, that if I could get some warm intros, that would be a great thing. Or, and then I've had a lot of tire kickers, as to your point. Yeah, tell me about it. Da, 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 da. Okay, sign the NDA and then we'll talk about it, And that's fine, they sign, but they are tire kickers. It's an incredible waste of time. So I'm trying to figure out, the balance between generating revenue, which of course I have to do to keep the lights on and pay my cell phone bill, or, over here, looking for investors. So now that I've had these two things more solidified, maybe what I should do is turn to that piece, which is seeking investors and networking more with people. I mean, if somebody wants to write me a check, hey, come on.
You've worked with all these clients over the years. I'm wondering if you've leveraged those relationships to get the warm intro, because I imagine certainly some of them have investors or have raised
Yes,
money over the years.
that's another great question. And this is philosophically how I feel about that. And I may be wrong, and I may be old school, and whatever you want to call me. When I do business with you, I do business with Mike Z, and I'm helping Mike Z do whatever it is that Mike Z hired me for. I've always felt, I don't know, the word uncomfortable comes to my head. I mean, I rarely feel uncomfortable, but I have that boundary thing. And I don't know, how would that be how would you feel, if I approached you and said, hey, can we talk about, I need investors, blah, blah, blah. My relationship, let's pretend, you were my client, which you're not. And I don't know whether that's trespassing. And I feel maybe it is trespassing. So I'll be interested to hear what you say about my either old school or ultra polite way of being, So go ahead. I want to hear your feedback on that one.
I will gladly offer it to you, which is, I'm wondering if maybe it's time to reinvent this belief.
Okay. That's probably right.
And I say that because first of all, I understand what you're saying totally, and where you're coming from, and having that boundary. And, there's this kind of, if I'm the service provider, if I'm taking care of you, the client, I can't ask you to take care of me or to help me kind of thing. That's what
Right.
I'm sensing, which I get that. And at the same time, I would challenge you to think, okay, on one hand, you have the relationship between most and client, but beyond that, and I would say bigger than that, there's Claudia, the human being, and whoever the client is, that human being. And you have, I imagine, a good relationship with some of these folks that you've served
Oh,
for a
yeah, of
while.
course. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so I don't think, well, let me just say like this, let me make it positive, is I believe with no doubt that you can politely, professionally communicate that, just an ask of, hey, would it be appropriate, or is this okay with you if I'm
That's a
raising.
nice way of putting it.
So in my experiences with the clients that I've worked with, where I've built a good relationship, where they're, longtime friends and people that I've invested in
Sure.
their success over the years, and vice versa, more often than not, if they can help, if they can reciprocate, more often than not, they're happy to do it. They're thrilled to do it, because it's kind of like this reciprocity of paying it forward or paying it back or whatever. So that's kind of my sense. What do you
That's,
think of all that?
I like that approach. First of all, I would honor that person, and I like what you said by asking, Mike, would you think it's appropriate, or would it make you feel uncomfortable if I broached the subject of investors with you? And I mean, you could say no, you could say yes, you could say I'll hear a little bit of what you have, whatever you want to say, but it's more of an honoring of you. You talked about being a human being. I never take anything for granted. And, Mike might be somebody who really wants to help, and was waiting for an ask. On the other hand, you have to approach those things with honor and dignity and respect, because that's just like, okay, blah, blah, blah. I'm not like that at all. So I like that approach. That's a good approach. And I'm going to put it into action, and I will report back to you.
Fantastic. All right. Well, then
So
I love it.
bravo.
Yeah. Thank
Yep.
you. Thank
Yep.
you. And
Very good. Very good.
thank you. And let me ask you just a one quick follow-up. I'm curious if you've asked your existing clients for referrals before.
Yes, we just started doing that. I put into place I said, referral is the highest form of flattery, which it really is. And if there's anybody in your circle that you think we could benefit by working with us, would you please blah, blah, blah. I absolutely did. We just started it.
Got it.
Because I felt like, again, it's delicate territory, really, if you want to know. I mean, it is, So yes, I just started that, and that's a good question too. But I beat you to the punch. Okay.
Well, and you beat me to the punch with, I was going to ask you, are you going to commit to taking the action and reaching out to people? But you're already there. So
I'm already, you should know, I'm Action Jackson. I just go. Yeah. I just go.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I feel like I was able to offer you some kind of insight today. And
Yes,
so
you did.
So I will look forward to you reporting back and letting me know how that goes. And I hope it's fruitful. I would be surprised if it isn't. And I'm not going to take any more of your time for the coaching, because I feel like I did my job today. And so
Yes.
I want to ask you before I let you go, is there anything else, anything that we didn't cover, or anything that you want to share before I let you get back to work?
Right. I will also say this one thing, and I say, although popular opinion is that I'm 16, I am not 16, as we know, and I have never, ever, ever let my age or anything else stop me. So if you're listening to this and you're wondering, and you're out of work and you're 55, blah blah blah, never let that bother you. And also, I will tell you that I stay young in mind, spirit, heart, and everything else, because I'm surrounded by young people and they have so much to offer. So instead of sitting watching whatever you're watching or doing whatever you're doing, get up off your ass and try to do something different, and don't let anything stop you.
Amazing. I love that. And I'm going to piggyback onto that and say that one of the things I've benefited most from in my life and in my career is the wisdom and experience of people who have taken more breaths and more steps on this earth than I have. And one of the most beautiful things about getting into cannabis for me has been meeting folks who are much more experienced in business and in life, and being able to collaborate and work with them. And
Of
so
course.
I think it's, it's a two-way street. And I think really what's coming up for me is, and this is, I love this because it's, to me, cannabis is all about diversity and inclusion and bringing people of difference together and having this plant, this natural, magical gift that we can all connect around and through. And that's what I want to see in this industry, and that's what I hope the folks watching and listening at home can connect with that, and realize that there's so many people out there that are just waiting to work with you, or to collaborate with you, or to be a part of this with you. And
Yes.
Even if they don't look like you.
Oh, it's nothing to do with it. Who cares what you look like? It's what's in here is what's important, and what's up here. So, the rest is just, it's window dressing, right? Doesn't mean anything. It's the book. So, and I have, as have you, if any of your listeners, anybody wants to, ask me a question, they can just email me or whatever. I'm happy to do that. I've always done that in all of my speaking engagements. People have always, they'll email me or they'll ask me a question, just like you, the same kind of thing, but happy to help. I think paying it forward, or whatever that is, has benefited me a zillionfold. So there you go.
Amazing. Cool.
Yes.
Claudia,
all right.
thank you so very much. It's a joy to speak with you as always.
I'm sending you a virtual kiss.
Oh, thank you. Got it.
Okay, cool.
Have a great day.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, Mike Z is. Hi, Mike Z is. Hi, Mike Z is the cannabis business coach. Hi, Mike Z is. Hi, Mike Z is. Hi, Mike Z is the cannabis business coach.